Welcome to the Stepmom Side with Alicia Crasco, the podcast for stepmoms ready to create the life they want and one they actually have a say in. Here we talk all things stepmom life and just a little bit more. Leave the superficial conversations at the door and get ready for perspective shifts and actionable advice to help you on your way to creating the life you want, one step at a time. Hey, welcome back to the Stepmom Side podcast. I'm your host, Alicia. And this week, we are going to dive into questions that I got on my Ask Me Anything poll or stories on Instagram that I did. And then a few weeks ago, I asked in my broadcast channel, also on Instagram, did you even know that I have a broadcast channel on Instagram? I do. I'll link that in the show notes. But in there, I'd ask, like, what are you struggling with? So this is a mixture of questions from both, and there are 9 of them, and I have them kind of laid out in an order that like makes sense. So before we jump into it, I want to discuss this weekend. So this weekend is Mother's Day. So May 11th, it's going to be Mother's Day. If you're listening to this when it's coming out live, this weekend is going to be Mother's Day. And I know there's a lot of feelings about Mother's Day and what that looks like and how we feel about it and how do we navigate it? How do we celebrate it? How do we not celebrate it? Like what's going to happen? Is it going to be awkward? It's probably going to be awkward. Let's just start there. But I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a stepmother's day, which is the Sunday after Mother's Day. I don't know if you know that, but I posted about that recently on my social media, and so many people were like, "What? There's a stepmother's day?" Yes, it's the Sunday after Mother's Day, which, you might have feelings about. Of course, it's the Sunday after Mother's Day. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But if you're feeling awkward about Mother's Day, talk to your partner about possibly celebrating Stepmother's Day, which is the weekend, the Sunday after Mother's Day. So let's jump into these questions that I got. And if you're watching this and you see me looking down, it's because I'm reading my notes just to like stay on track. So I put them in an order that kind of flows really well. So the first question I got was, I need help navigating my bio kid who's 3 years old, her feelings when my stepkid leaves our house. And I just want to say this is relatable because when my daughter was 3, she also had this because my stepson was leaving. He was graduating high school and leaving the house. And so that's really, really hard, especially if there's crying and you're like, I'm feeling sad about it and all of the things. But the best thing that you can do is be there for her, offer reassurance, explain that your stepdaughter has a different mom and she's going to see her. Spinning it in a good light makes it less worrying for your kid. So with my stepson, he was going off to basic training. But with your daughter, you can say, because my stepson would also go back and forth. Okay, let me just clarify. The times that my daughter was like really upset was after he left and he'd be gone for a really long time, or he'd be going to see his friends. Um, when he would go see his mom, which COVID had happened, so it wasn't as frequently as it was before, I would just explain to her, like, oh yeah, he's got a different mom. Isn't that cool? Like, you guys have the same dad, but you have a different mom. You guys have different moms. He's just going to see his mom and visit her and like his stepdad and brothers, and then he'll be back to see us. And here's the thing, this is really, really hard, but the more matter of fact you can be about it, the better it is for your daughter. If you let in any sort of like weirdness come into your voice, if you're like, oh yeah, or let's say that you don't like her mom and you're like, oh yeah, she's going to see her mom or whatever it is, the more matter of fact you are about it, the better it is for your daughter. If you, like I said, insert in any weirdness, like she's gonna pick up on that. Kids are crazy. Like they can just like pick up on anything. But spinning it in a good light makes it less worrying for her, like I had said. Number 2, my stepkids disrespect us and they're just not listening to me or their dad. I am so sick of repeating myself 100 times or more on basic things, and still it doesn't get listened to or done. They are 11 and 14, so big enough to be asked of basic things. I'm over wasting my energy and breath. Hi, welcome. Oh my gosh, I've had these exact same ages, 11 and 14, in my house, and it can be absolutely maddening because you're like, are you deaf? Do you not hear me? What is your problem? And it's really easy to think like I'd be much more productive watching paint dry because no one listens anyway. But there's likely several things that are going on here. dad feels guilty asking them to do anything, so he doesn't, or your partner feels guilty asking them to do anything because depending on your custody schedule, like they might not be there for a long time, so they don't get asked of anything. They might not like you, and whether it's they just don't like you or they're being told not to, it could be one of those things, like maybe they just have different personalities, whatever it is. They may feel confused on what they are supposed to do, and as they are in the teen years or about to be, since you've also got an 11-year-old, they're naturally pulling away and asserting their independence and have the selective hearing and all of the things. So my question to you would be this: how is your relationship with them outside of being your stepkid? I would work on building a relationship with them outside of asking them to do anything, connected with them as a person and not so much as your stepkid. Go back to the basics on this one. As much as that does not sound like fun, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated with them. Like, I don't want to spend time with them, Alicia. I hear you. I get it. I understand. But you've got several more years of them being in the house if they even leave at 18. And I know you're like, oh my God. But here's the thing. We're going to play the long game. So we're going to work on building a relationship with them. It will pay off. And as I always say, connection over correction. Also, I cannot recommend enough house expectations. I do have a free resource on this. It's called Set Your Stepfamily Up for Success: How to Create House Expectations That Work for Everyone. To get it, head to aliciacrasco.com/expectations. I will put that in the show notes too, so that way you can just like click the link. But it will walk you through how to get your house set up for success. We did this in our house and it was a game changer because, like you, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been repeating myself 800 times. How come sometimes they do this and sometimes they don't? And sometimes they're in trouble for it and sometimes they're not. And it's so maddening because you're like, I could be doing so many other things rather than like, hey, pick up your dishes or put your dishes in the sink or wash them or put them in the dishwasher or make your bed or I don't know, pick up the glob of peanut butter that you just dropped on the floor, literally. Okay, I'll give you a really quick story. My stepson loves peanut butter. And like we've definitely bonded over there because I love peanut butter too. But one time he had just taken like a spoonful of it out of the jar. And like we used to do that and like see who could get like the biggest or the most amount of peanut butter on their spoon. One time he did it and this massive, massive drop, like it was probably like 2 tablespoons. Like that's how big this drop was. Okay, maybe it was like a tablespoon, but like dropped on the floor and he didn't see it. And I'm like, how do you not see this? Like, are you going to clean this up before you step in it? Stop, stop, stop. Um, but like, you just didn't see it. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, look down. Like, did you not see that fall off your spoon? And I totally did. But anyway, back to, and so like just having to say to him, like, first of all, do you see the peanut butter? Secondly, clean it up. So house expectations, game changer. I will tell you this, it's not going to be, we, this, I don't want you to feel like this, like, oh, we set up house expectations and now I'll never repeat myself. Man, how I wish that were the case. Even with my own kid, I find myself repeating things. Kids, right? So for our house expectations, we had a family meeting where I thought I was going to puke. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I thought I was going to puke. We got buy-in from the kids, which also is crazy. So my husband and I had sat down and we had come up with loosely like how we wanted our house to be ran. And I went to the kids and we're like, hey, what do you think about this, that, and the other? And so here's what I will tell you. Less is more when it comes to house expectations. If you go and get this free resource, I talk about it all in there. But there was an adjustment to get everyone on the same page, but it was better. It wasn't perfect. Let me just clarify that. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. So progress over perfection, my friend. Progress over perfection. You hang in there, you'll get there. It'll get better. It's not going to be perfect. So don't strive for perfection, just strive for progress. Number three, I'm trying to manage the kids being happy at our house while they desperately miss their mother. And I will just say this, it is so hard to have your stepkids miss their mom while they're at your house and you're wanting them to be happy. I see you, but something to keep in mind is this, you can miss something and still be happy. They aren't mutually exclusive, but happiness looks different for everyone. And I think that plays in here. Where I think we could tweak this is having them be content because being happy shouldn't be the expectation 100% of the time. My question to you would be, are you happy 100% of the time? But probably not. With kids, but especially in divorce, excuse me, with kids, but especially in divorce situations, we want them to experience the good emotions as opposed to like the bad emotions, or we try to keep the bad emotions out of it. And I just want to say this. Emotions aren't good or bad. So like good emotions would be like happiness, delight, love, excitement, and bad emotions would be like anger, sadness, frustration, annoyance, like things like that. They aren't good or bad. They're just emotions, but so often we label them good or bad. And oh my gosh, how do we keep the kids from feeling any sort of like bad emotion? Like, let's not do that. Everyone cycles through emotions, and it's about handling them. So start by acknowledging their feelings. As much as you might not want to, lean into them missing their mom. And I know you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about their mom. She makes her life hard, or I feel jealous or insecure, or whatever it is. Like you might not want to talk about their mom, but lean into that. Try being that safe space for them to come to and talk about it. Again, as much as you might not want to, it will help. It'll help ease them missing her. I know that might sound weird, but it'll help ease them missing her. Just knowing that they can open up about it, they will feel safe and secure with you guys. Just the sense of belonging and not feeling like they have to cut off half of their life when you're with you. Not that you're asking them to like pretend like their mom exists, but that will help like if they can just like come and talk about it. Um, it will lessen, but also one last thing to note, you can't imagine the I am struggling with my words today. But one last thing to note is you can't manage other people's emotions at all. So I would challenge you on trying to manage that. And I know that you're like, I'm not trying to manage it, but I'm just trying to manage like my house with their emotions in them. Yeah, that part is really hard because you're like, okay, where where's my house going to be like vibe wise with my kids here or my stepkids here, like missing their mom. And here's what I would tell you, work on being the thermostat versus the thermometer. And so, what I mean by that is if you are a thermometer, whoever you hang out with, like if they're in a good mood, you're going to be in a good mood. If they're in a bad mood, you're going to be in a bad mood. If they're feeling anxious, you're going to be anxious. If they're feeling sad, you're going to be sad. So, that's the thermometer. They match wherever whoever they're around is. So, it looks like you might be a little bit there right now, but be the thermostat. Like, I'm going to choose today, I'm going to be happy, or I'm going to be content, or I'm going to be excited, or I'm going to be sad, or whatever it is. You be the thermostat. You set your mood and be that. And I'll tell you this, that sounds really great to say, like in a textbook world, right? Like, oh, just be happy, or just be content, or just like live your life. Yeah, yay. But when you've got some kids that come and they are feeling a certain kind of way, you you can lower your thermostat for a little bit, right? There's nothing more annoying than like when you're having a really hard time and somebody's like, "Yay, go team." And you're like, "My life sucks right now." But you can go and just be like, "Hey, I understand that you're feeling sad, or I understand that you're feeling, like sad and you miss your mom. Do you want to talk about it?" And they might want to, they might not want to. Depending on how things have gone before at your house, they might not want to talk to you about their mom. Eventually they might. Like if you keep asking about it, not like that day, but like over the course of however long, like they might feel safe enough to open up to you. So just hang in there. Again, this is not an easy one to navigate. Okay, number four, how do we deal with a combative bio mom that makes everything difficult and places kids in the middle? Ugh, I just want to say I'm so sorry that the mom is putting the kids in the middle. That's really hard and it really sucks for the kids. And I feel like I am going to sneeze. I might mute myself, but I'm not going to like cut this part of it out because my allergies have been so bad. If you've seen me on social media recently, like you've seen that my eyes are like red. Okay, I thought I was going to sneeze, but apparently not. Um, okay, so yeah, I'm sorry that she's putting the kids in the middle. Like it really, really sucks. And it's hard enough being a stepmom, but then add in that you've got someone that is actively making it hard. No thanks. So I'm sending you all the love. But if their mom is making things really hard, just know that it says a lot about her. She might be going through something. She might be not that far along on her healing journey, if at all. And also, she might, in fact, like the drama. Good for her, but you're not going to partake. There's no partaking on your end. So, like I mentioned in the previous answer, focus on the kids and their well-being. I don't know how old your stepkids are, but here's what I recommend. If they're young, don't mention it. Like, don't mention them being put in the middle or like the conflict or the drama or whatever, even though like it seems to seep out of like all of our pores. If they bring it up, you can say, those are adult conversations that you don't need to be a part of. I'm really sorry that you're hearing about them. If they're a bit older, you can ask critical thinking questions. I'm not sure why your mom would say that. Like, let's say she said, your stepmom is a terrible person. So you could say, I'm not sure why your mom would say that. What do you think? And let them answer. You don't need to flat out refute what they say because that's this is like a tricky thing because let's say that they say, well, I don't like you. And then what are you going to say? Well, you're an idiot or your mom is dumb or no, you're not going to say any of those things when you could, why do you think that? Or why don't you like me? Or just have those conversations. And here's another really hard thing to do. If you ask them something, let's say, well, I don't like you either. Just ask them like, why don't you like me? Or what makes you say that you don't like me? And let them answer. You don't need to refute anything. And this is really hard because what if they say something that you're actually struggling with? Like you know that you're struggling with. Let's say that you're a control freak. I'm not shaming you because hello, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Alicia. I'm in that club too. I've let a lot of it go. But let's say, well, I don't like you because you're controlling. I'm like, no, I'm not. And you're defensive because you know that like you have those tendencies. Just let them answer. And don't get your feelings in a bunch. It's just let them answer and like let them get that out. You again, you don't need to flat out refute what they say, but you can guide the conversations too. You can say like you don't need to be caught in the middle. I'm so sorry that this is happening to you, but this is something that I work with stepmoms in with coaching. We work through like role play for lack of or actually like what it is role playing. We work through and role play like what phrases to use when something happens because you know that it's going to happen again and you know the situations and the dynamics that are playing out like in your step family life. So when stepmoms come in for coaching, sometimes we just work through that. Like we'll spend a good 10 or 15 minutes just working on like, okay, here's how the conversation always goes. Like they'll tell me, and then we'll role play like a way to change that conversation. But this is really hard. So if you want to come and see me for coaching, come see me for coaching. Number five, how do I deal with it feels like you don't love my kid as much as you love me, even after everything. So when your partner says you don't love me as much as or you don't love my kid as much as you love me, it feels like a lose-lose situation. And honestly, it is because if you're honest and you say, you're right, I don't, you've just confirmed to them that you're a cold, heartless stepmom. Like, newsflash, you're not a cold, heartless stepmom. But there's no requirement for you to love your stepkids as much as you love their partner. But then also, if you say, I do love them as much as you, then you feel like you're now on the defense trying to show your partner that you do love your stepkids as much as you love your partner. When sometimes that feels fake because, quite honestly, you might not like your stepkids or love your stepkids as much as you love your partner. And when someone says this, to me, it sounds like insecurity. Maybe there's this feeling of not being lovable. And honestly, like that's not on you to fix. If your partner is saying, I feel like you don't love me as much, or you don't love my kids. I keep messing this up. If you don't love me as much as you don't love my kids as much as you love me. Man, again, like I said, my words are really hard today. Um, it's it's not on you to fix that or to try to prove that. You can't. You'll lose every single time because how you love your stepkids is not going to be how their parent loves them. But what you can do is explain that it's a different kind of love. You may be in love with your partner, but you're not in love with your stepkids. One is a romantic kind of love, the other is not. So it's just different. So that's how the angle that I would work. And like something else you could say is the way I love or the way you love your friends is different from how you love your family is different from how you love your partner is different from how you love your stepkids or kids of your own or whatever, or like your pets. It's just there's different types of love. There's just varying degrees. You're not required to love your stepkids as much as you love your partner. Like don't get caught into that vicious cycle because it is absolutely a vicious cycle. So number six, how do you work through husband always jumping for HCBM, so high conflict biomom? Talking to your partner, here's what I would say. Talking to your partner about how they always jump when the mom needs something is a recipe for disaster, is what I want to say, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to say is a recipe for defensiveness. If you know, you know. So here are a few phrases to help get around this. I don't need you to fix this. I just need you to understand how I feel about this situation. You, in this situation, or I mean, in this sentence, you are putting the focus on you and your needs and not blaming them. You're not saying, like, oh, I feel like you always jump whenever she calls, like, who are you in a relationship, me or her, right? That might be what you're thinking. And you may have said those words, relatable. But this phrase, I don't need you to fix this. I just need you to understand how I feel about the situation. You're putting the focus on you and your needs and not blaming them. Another phrase to use is sometimes I feel like you're caught in the middle between me and her. I hate that. How can I support you so you don't feel like that? I also have a podcast episode about dads being caught in the middle. I'll link it in the show notes, but definitely give it a listen. You can even send it to your partner and say, hey, I found this podcast episode. Please give it a listen. I'm curious if you ever feel like you're caught in the middle. You're focusing on your partner in a loving, kind way. You're seeing them, you're giving them that validation that you would like, right? We're going to model the behavior that we would like. And you're focusing on them in a loving, kind way, not in a you suck at this, because I can tell you now, your partner most likely feels like they're failing at most things, 100%. And this is going to be one of those things where you have to keep having those conversations or like, hey, remember when we had that conversation about how I felt about this situation? Like when you jump when she's calling or whatever it is, now is one of those times. And it'll get easier. Like at first, the conversations are really hard and you guys might have to have like a cooling off period, also relatable. But the conversations will get easier, I promise. Number 7, how to deal with watches being sent with the kids. Watches she calls and texts them on. She has GPS on them and she can listen at any time. We take the watches when we pick them up. We aren't comfortable. The kids say they need their watches and we'll put up a fight when we take them. Okay. Having the kids being sent with watches that track you, they can call and text their mom on, or she can call or text them, and she can listen in whenever she wants is a little nerve-wracking. You don't even have to be doing anything wrong. It literally could be like you guys are going out for ice cream and like having the best time, but it feels like such an invasion of privacy to have somebody else like listening in on that conversation or like that time with them, right? Here's the thing. I can understand why she would want to track where her kids are on her time, but I don't understand why she needs to track where her kids are on your time. Unless, of course, it's an I want to know what they're doing and be nosy. If she's calling, texting, or listening in incessantly, that is incredibly disruptive for the kids' time at your house. The kids don't feel like they can necessarily like assimilate in or just be at your house, knowing that their mom can pop in at any minute. Based on what you've said, it looks like a control manipulation tactic, and that sucks. I'm sorry. Again, I don't have the whole story. I'm just going off of literally just based on what you said. But you mentioned that the kids need the watches. Here's what I would do. I would ask them why. Kind of like how I just talked about, like being curious and like getting to the bottom of things. Like, why do you need them? When they answer, ask more questions, not in a condescending, like whatever tone, but out of genuine curiosity. With a question you've submitted, I feel like it'll eventually come out that their mom wants them to have them. Not necessarily that they want to wear them. They might want to wear them like if there's games or something on them. But eventually, I feel like it'll come out that their mom wants them to wear them. And empathize with them. Honestly, like empathize with them, meet them where they are. You can say, I'm sorry she's put you in this weird, awkward situation at that sucks. At our house, we aren't comfortable with them. Your mom has her own set of rules, and we have our own set too. And then you can give them an option. Do you want to take the watch off now or in 5 minutes? You're meeting them with kindness and giving them control of when they take the watch off. And you might be like, my stepkids are older. This works with older stepkids too. It works with all kids. Giving them, anyone really, like even me, it would work with me. Like, do you want to do it now or do you want to do it in 5 minutes? I now feel like I'm in control of the situation, right? So, I know you'd like them to be ready to hand the watches over when you see them, but that's not where you are right now. This is a conversation, again, that you'll have to keep having. It will take time, but give them and yourself a little bit of grace. Again, progress over perfection, progress over perfection. Number 8, learning to distinguish the difference between doing what you can in the best interest of the kids versus getting taken advantage of. Ugh. Okay, so learning how to do what's best for the kids versus getting taken advantage of, I just want to say is really, really hard. I see you. You can spin anything in the best interest of the kids, which leaves you feeling like a doormat if you're just constantly doing everything in the best interest of the kids. If you choose not to do something in the best interest of the kids, because you feel like you're being taken advantage of, it seemingly paints you in this evil stepmom light, right? And it's hard to get past that feeling because you know that's not true, even if you feel like other people feel like that. But here's the thing, boundaries, my friend. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Maybe you hand a few more things off to your partner. Maybe you have a conversation about what is or isn't working for you, but talking through those solutions and what works for both of you is going to be your best friend. So when a situation comes up and you feel like you're being taken advantage of, let your partner know. And here's how I would do that. Hey, remember that conversation we had about how I'm doing things in the best interest of the kids, or I feel like, or versus me feeling like I'm being taken advantage of. Now is when I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. So talk through it. Getting outside help is also really important for this. Sometimes you and your partner become echo chambers and not in a good way. And here's where the stepmom side community is your best option. There are stepmoms in there that have been where you've been. You can post what you're going through, like, hey, this is happening. Is this really in the best interest of the kids, or do you feel like I'm being taken advantage of? Honestly, sometimes it might be both, to be 100% honest with you. Sometimes it might be both, sometimes it's one or the other. It might be both. I'm just going to tell you now, it might be both. But others can chime in with how they've navigated it. And more than anything, it's great to have the support, the validation, and to be seen by others that actually get it. You're like, oh my God, my people, thank you so much. I thought I was a crazy person, or I felt like my partner was making me feel like a crazy person. That's not you, it's the situation. Number 9, the last one. So this was like, what are you struggling with? This was a question on my broadcast channel. And the response was resentment and my stepkids making things more complicated than they need to be. You've heard me talk through many stressors like in this podcast episode and all of the nuances that come with them. So it's inevitable that resentment is going to build up. Resentment is normal. Resentment has some other emotion or emotions under it. And you need to find out what that is. Is it anger? Is it sadness? Is it frustration? Is it loneliness? If you know the root of resentment, you can work through that. Or if you know like the emotion that's hiding underneath the resentment, you can absolutely work through that. I do have a course on resentment, Resentment to Relief, a stepmom's guide to letting go, and I'll link that in the show notes. What's also going to help you here is getting outside help. Helps so much with this, whether it's a course, scheduling coaching, or joining the stepmom side community. Like, don't go at this alone because sometimes you're like, I don't even know. Like, I'm stuck. I have no idea. All I can feel is resentment. I don't even know the underlying emotion. I don't even know how to get to that underlying emotion. It's being curious and asking yourself why and just literally taking the time to like think about it. It is not the fun work. It is not pretty. It is not cute. It is not the stuff that you want to do. But that's where the change happens. That's where the magic happens of like, oh, this work is exhausting, but I'm actually finding out why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. So resentment is just such a hard one to navigate. That's why I'm like, get the outside help. With your stepkids making things harder than they are, I'm sorry. I'm not sure how old they are, but set up space for you to just be you. Get out and do things that bring you joy. You're more than just a stepmom. Again, like outside help is going to be so helpful. Like I was talking in the last one, trying to figure out like resentment versus like being taken advantage of. This is going to be another thing. Like, okay, my stepkids are making this really hard. How do I handle this? I don't have any specific examples to like coach you on. I guess this is like turned into like a coaching podcast episode. But at the end of the day, you are more than a stepmom. And here's how I want to end this podcast episode. I know we've covered a lot of tough stuff today, and I just want to remind you that you are not alone in this. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to feel like you're constantly repeating yourself or that you're in the emotional weeds because so often we are. These challenges are real, but they don't define you. And as stepmoms, we're often expected to be the superheroes who juggle it all. But it's okay to admit when you need a break or you need help. And so, whether that means setting firm boundaries, getting support from your partner, or leaning on the stepmom side community, a community that gets it, there are so many different ways through this chaos. And trust me, you will find balance or your specific balance. It does take time, takes patience, and a whole lot of grace for others, but most importantly, my friend, for yourself. So if you're feeling stuck or like you need a place where you can just vent and get real advice, I've mentioned it a few times throughout this podcast, but check out the Stepmom Side community. It's a supportive place where stepmoms come together to feel heard and find solutions. That's the one thing that I absolutely love about the community that I've created is it's not one of those bash sessions like where you come in and you just talk crap about like your partner's ex or your stepkids' mom or your stepkids or your in-laws or whatever, but it's like, okay, here's what I'm struggling with. Help me find a solution. So there are solutions in there. Plus, I've got plenty of resources to help you with everything from house expectations to managing resentment and everything in between. So take a deep breath. You've got this. And if you need to hit reset or just need some extra encouragement, I'm here for you. So don't forget to head to aliciacrasco.com/expectations to grab my free guide to setting up your step family for success. It could absolutely be the game changer that you need. Remember, progress over perfection and be kind to yourself. And until next time, take care of yourself because you matter. And I will chat with you next week. Thanks for taking time to listen to this week's episode. If anything was helpful or resonated with you, please share it on social media and tag me. I'm just at Alicia Crasco. And if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review while you're at it, that would also be really helpful. And if you find yourself struggling with your stepmom journey and you want a little bit more support without the hefty price tag of coaching, you might want to check out the Stepmom Side community, which is my own private community for stepmoms, where you get to connect with other stepmoms around the world and myself, where I hold weekly office hours and monthly group coaching. It's kind of like you have your own personal coach in your own back pocket. Again, without that hefty price tag. See you next week.